What's going on, everyone? It's Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our PGA DFS Sleepers for the 2021 PGA Championship. Before we go there, Craig, let's take a quick look back at the AT&T Byron Nelson Sleepers recap. Only 5 picks because your boy Camilo dropped out right before. 3 make cuts.
Yeah, nice to have the withdrawal before the tournament rather than minutes
Thursday
before
morning.
after the lock. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, 3 top 26s, a few of your picks there. My Higgs was a disappointment and Hoagie was a little bit disappointing, but
Higgs in dramatic fashion, Hoagie a little less so, but the guys who made the cut did a decent job of working their way up the leaderboard.
yeah. But we're moving on. It's major week. We've got the PGA Championship, Kiawah Island. We did a lot kind of previews. We're just going to talk DFS sleepers here. So it's 7,500 and below on DraftKings. Craig, let's jump into it.
Yeah, let's do it. I think you're not even going close to 7,500 yourself.
I'm not even sniffing that. And we'll talk a little bit of strategy along the way, but I think you're a little bit more balanced this week. I might be a little bit more high-low. But this is my highest sleeper here. I'm going Robert MacIntyre, 7,000 on DraftKings. He's 56 on FanDuel, a little bit more respectfully, 48th, 8,600. But really, we've been talking about Robert MacIntyre in European Tour content, WGCs. Like, we've been talking about him for a while if you've been watching our shows. Last 15 events, going back to kind of 2020, I think he kind of turned a corner, and we've been talking about that. 14 to 15 made cuts. I mean, this is European Tour, PGA Tour, WGCs, everything. His only miscut was at the Players, where a lot of people missed the cut. In those 15 events, 10 top 25s, 6 top 10s, and that win at the Cyprus Showdown. So playing really, really good golf, getting in the top third of the field, a lot of the time getting in the top 10s a lot as well. It's hard to find stats that kind of fit his profile because he's playing all over the place. But I went 2021 European Tour stats. He's third in greens and regulation, 73%. That one's not hard to mess up. He's hitting 73% of his greens. That's good. 10th strokes gained tee to green, plus 1.74. On the European Tour, strokes gained stats are a little bit more iffy, but still very, very good tee to green game. And I feel like he just shows up for big events. So he's only played in 4 major championships in his career. He's made all 4 of those cuts, and he's popped T6 in his first ever major championship at the 2019 Open. And then just recently, he's T12 at the 2021 Masters. So I don't feel like there's any strength of field issues. There's no length of course issues. There's none of that. Like, I feel like Robert MacIntyre is just on the rise, and I'm going to continue to keep playing him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he comes in with a lot of momentum too. He didn't have a great result at the RBC Heritage, but I don't think that's the best course for him anyways. I think he does better in a I think he's more of a bomber, so he does better in a more open setup like this will be. But he's got a top 10 at the British. He's got the Masters tied for 12th, and then he did well at the Match Players before that. All strong fields.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is he's not as proven as these other guys might be, as the other veterans, but he's a guy on the rise, and I'm gonna play him. And
maybe a little bit boomer busty as well, I would say.
Yeah, I think
in this type of a field. Yeah.
Okay,
my first one, speaking of boomer busty, I guess, Keegan Bradley, 7,300. He's 42nd on DraftKings, 8,900, 41st on FanDuel. So I think the kind of story with Keegan right now can be told through his strokes gained totals. You look at 3 months, he's gaining almost a stroke and a half. He's 23rd in the field. That starts to slip the further back you look. 6 months, he's 34th. 12 months, he's 51st. You look at 2 full years of data, he's 68th in the field, so that doesn't seem like the greatest of deals. But if you've been paying attention, Keegan Bradley is a tee to green stud. Over the past 6 months, he ranks 9th in the field, tee to green. He's averaging over a stroke and a half there. Just to give you some context, that is ahead of people like Bryson, Rory, DJ, Will Zalatoris, Xander Schauffele, Tony Finau, Berger. So,
pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. So the tee to green numbers are there. For Keegan Bradley, the question mark is always the putter, I would say. I think that's a fairly safe
Yep.
point to make. But you look at what he's done since the start of the Florida swing. Not only is he positive, he's positive 0.14 strokes putting. So, that's really all you need for Keegan Bradley to be competitive.
Oh yeah.
If he does gain more than that, on a week, then usually he's in contention. And we have seen him do that recently. He's got 6 straight top 30 finishes. The second at the Valspar, just stumbled a little bit coming down the stretch there. But you combine that with a PGA Championship record that I think is very strong. What did him and Colin Morikawa have in common? Well, both of them won the first major they played in. He's played in 10 PGA Championships. He has made 8 cuts. Not only the winner in 2011, the first time he was in a major, but he was actually tied for 3rd at Kiawah before. So, I think he plays well on this type of surface. I think he has a decent history at this course. I mean, as decent as anyone outside Rory McIlroy, I would say.
Yeah.
So I think the only problem with Keegan is potentially going to be how popular of a play it is.
Yeah, I really think he seems to be checking all the boxes. I will be playing Keegan Bradley for sure, but he will be one of the highest owned guys, like top 3 highest owned guys, I think, in DFS this week.
Ooh,
so, I think so. I mean, that's all golf Twitter, my little birdies are talking about. That I'm hearing Keegan Bradley over and over again. So I'm gonna play him, but I'm gonna play him with knowing that basically I know it's gonna be a chalky play, and when that happens with a guy down low, it scares me. But I'm still gonna be playing him.
Yeah, well, and I think you have to think about in big GPPs like we get in major weeks.
Yeah.
If you're going to be playing someone very chalky, then you have to think about the rest of your lineups not being the most popular plays. But then the other thing you have to think about is what is the upside of your sleepers? So Keegan Bradley, I mean, you could legitimately say he has win upside in a major, which you're not getting a whole lot of that down at 7,300. But he's got a lot of top 5 upside, I would say. So I think that speaks kind of why he will be a popular play.
And I think also if you have $7,500 left on the table and you go to Keegan Bradley, then I think it's a much better play as well, because other people will be reaching, trying to maximize their salary.
Oh yeah, especially in the biggest GPPs where being different is more important than just looking for ownership leverages.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, my second pick here, I'm going Thomas Pieters, my boy, 6,800 on DraftKings. He's 70th there on FanDuel, 7,900, 75th. So on our preview podcast, the links are below. I mentioned Pieters as my sleeper. I'm going to be playing him in DFS as well. So he has 4 top 15s in his last 5 events. The last one was the ATT Byron Nelson, and he missed the cut. But he was 6th in strokes gained tee to green, a plus 1.76 per round. So he was hitting the ball beautifully. Mm-hmm. He just lost 1.7 strokes putting. He was also at 5 under. He missed the cut by 1. But he lost 1.7, I think, strokes putting per round. So putting issues, yeah, they still creep in for Thomas Pieters, that's for sure. The other 4 top 15s, though, interestingly enough, we talked about Pass Ballam a little bit, all on Pass Ballam tracks. Saudi International, Puerto Rico, Corrales Punta Cana, and Qatar, all Pass Ballam, all top 15. So that's very encouraging. I had to go a little bit back to talk about the Belgian bomber a little bit, but he's just an elite ball striker. Last 2 years in this field, he ranks 6th in strokes gained approach, a plus 0.92, 16th strokes gained tee to green, plus 1.33. But he's streaky. I mean, he'll go on runs, he'll disappear. That's why I went 2 years. That's the biggest sample size. For recent data that I can get, and it just shows that he is an elite ball striker. Mm-hmm. Major championship play. So the last 6 majors, 4 top 30s or better. And that includes a T6 at the 2018 PGA Championship. So again, like guys like Bobby Mack, the guys who I picked in our pick show, I'm looking at major championship performance because I feel like it is a good indicator how they may play future major championships. And he plays them pretty well. 4 out of 6 times he's top 30 or better. This is a guy that comes in at 6,800, 70th ranked. I'm going to play Pieters a little bit, but he is risky, so I'm not going to go way overboard on him.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly it for me. I think, you look at the major record and it's clear that, this is one of the guys that has the tee to green game to show up to the hardest golf courses when they're set up the hardest and be competitive. And unfortunately, it's just his putter that keeps him from, being one of the top players in the world. I mean, essentially, his tee to green game is good enough.
He's Belgian Keegan Bradley. Let's come on.
Yeah, but also, like, tied for sixth at 2018. Last time he, at the U.S. Open, he was tied for 23rd there. He lost over a stroke around putting. So it's just sort of like he can lose strokes putting and you can still get a good result with him.
Yeah.
I haven't quite figured out. I need to check my heart, my blood pressure to see whether I can handle playing him this week. But no, I think it's exactly the type of high upside play you want to be looking for in this type of field.
I mean, clearly I'm a fan. I got the same haircut as him. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Okay, my next one here. This one might surprise you a little bit because this is a guy I've not been very high on for a while. I almost laughed at you when you picked him as a showdown play last week. Harris English, he comes in 7,200, 46 on DraftKings, 8,900, 41st on FanDuel. So it's a hard story to tell with Harris. You look at his 2 years and his 12 months. He was 27th over 2 years, 18th over 12 months, gaining almost a stroke and a half over that time. So you're like, okay, great deal at 46, 41st in pricing. But then you look at recent stuff. 3 months, he's 79th in strokes gained total, gaining barely, or just about a third of a stroke. And you're like, okay, so what happened to Keegan Bradley?
Harris English.
Or sorry, Harris English. Yes, yeah. I just like the Keegan Bradley pick so much. This is actually a little bit the opposite of Keegan Bradley, where Harris English, his real strength is with his short game. And it has been within the last couple of years that he has really started to show good ball striking. But the approach is still the weakness in the game. That's where he has gained the least of any strokes this year. But when you break it down a little bit further than just approach, he's actually better at long approaches than he is at short approaches. So you look at 200 yards or greater approaches, he's 44th on the PGA Tour. 50 to 125 yard approaches, he's 210th on the PGA Tour. I don't know how many guys were counting, but that is pretty close to dead
near the bottom.
Yeah, pretty close to last. He's been competitive at Mayakoba, which is a pass Palom course. He's got 3 top 5s there, including a win. Should be a good pass Palom fit. He's from the Carolinas, so he should have played a lot of golf. Or no, Georgia. Sorry.
I was gonna say I thought he was a Georgia boy.
Yeah, he's a Georgia boy. He should have played a lot of golf on grainy greens, whether it's Bermuda or pass Palom. But he has good results on the pass Palom, so he should be a very good fit here. Top 21 in his last 3 major appearances, including 4th at the U.S. Open, which could have been even better, but his ball got lost in the middle on the first tee of the final round. He was, his win was at a long course. He's not a bomber off the tee, but I think it's that long approach play that makes him more competitive at those. He won at the Century Tournament of Championship, or Century Tournament of Champions, which is one of the longest courses. It's a regular fixture on the tour. So I have no problem about his ability to fit this type of course. I just think it's going to be a little bit sneaky when we saw just the briefest little flashes of good form from Harris English last week.
At the Byron Nelson. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that's important. It's not all about driving distance for long courses. It's how you play long courses well, because it is about approach. It's about around the green. It's about saving those pars. Harris English, I was pretty confident of the 6 sleepers we're talking about that 5 will be in my player pool. I don't know about Harris English. That was a very compelling argument. I also, he might be one of those guys. I mean, if the wind picks up, I kind of like him a little bit more. I like him to handle that. He won in Hawaii on the coastal track, like he said with his Mayakoba record. You kind of convinced me a little bit.
It's one that until I started to do research on sleepers, I would not have thought that Harris English was going to be one of them. But the more I kind of poked away at it, the more I was like, there might be some. I don't think there's going to be a lot of eyeballs looking at him either, which, compared to a Keegan Bradley play, that has a lot of appeal.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I like it. Okay, my third and final sleeper here is Brandon Stone. He's 6,300 on DraftKings, 109th, 7,000 on FanDuel, 104th, but that's the bare minimum. I'm trying to find someone at the very bottom for you guys that I think can pop, surprise, fill out a lineup. High risk, but does come with some reward. So I'm going Brandon Stone as that player in the low 6,000s on DraftKings. What has he done over the past 7 events? So 3 top 7s or better, 3 missed cuts. He won 3 weeks ago in South Africa. It was a Challenge Sunshine Tour kind of co-sanctioned event. He did beat some pretty good competition there. Got the win at, I think it was 8 under. So a harder course. I like to see that. But then after that, he has 2 missed cuts. So I can't really say he's coming in with good form because he has a win, but he followed up with 2 missed cuts. And that's kind of what Brandon Stone is. He's a high-risk player. But I wanted to get more data from him. So I went back to 2020 for his European Tour stats. He's 10th in greens and regulation, 71%. I really like that. 7th in driving distance at just under 320 yards. So he can push it out there, he can find greens, and he can get scoring or at least prevent big numbers if he's hitting the fairway, which I really like. He has played in 9 major championships. I mean, it's kind of pick and choosing over the last few years, not playing in them all, but the 9 kind of majors he's played in. Not the greatest history, but 4 made cuts and a T12 at the 2018 PGA Championship. A T12 ceiling is pretty good for someone at 6,300. And the kind of 50-50 made cut 4 to 9, just under 50% at 6,300. That's kind of to be expected. So that's not too bad. This is a guy that's almost bare minimum pricing that I think is the lowest guy that I'm willing to take a risk on. And I think he has as high of upside as anyone really under 6,500.
Yeah, I think you make a good argument for him potentially being value at 6,300. I don't think I'm going that low. So like, we get into our whole player pools on our Tuesday night live show. I don't know. Like, I think that if you're playing in big GPPs and Brandon Stone gets a top 10, that can be the absolute difference maker. I think that the paths I see to that are so difficult to kind of get there that I'm going to be a little bit more conservative at the bottom end of my pool.
I just always like to find that little diamond in the rough, less than 2.5% owned. Take my chance with maybe 2 or 3 lineups, get a little bit crazy, and I think Stone's going to be that guy this week for me.
And it makes it hard, too, because Garrick Higo is no longer a diamond in the rough. He's a diamond out in the jewelry store.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, my last one here. I'm going with Emiliano Grillo. He is 7,000 on DraftKings, 56 in pricing. So my cheapest guy is about the same price exactly as your most expensive. But 8,500 on FanDuel, 52nd in pricing. So you look at his strokes gained, he's in good form. This is another one I think more similar to Keegan Bradley than it is to Harris English on my side. 1.33 strokes gained over the past 3 months. That's 27th. And then it kind of just falls off gradually until you get to 2 years. He's 59th in the field, 0.59, which is, not that dissimilar from where he's priced. So I think the long-term value still makes a bit of sense. Recent results, his last 7 starts, he's got 2 missed cuts, 5 top 21. So basically, if he is making the cut, he's working his way up into the higher end of the field. That includes the 2nd at RBC Heritage. You look at his PGA Championship history, he's got 6 starts, 5 cuts made, so pretty good ratio of making cuts. I think he plays well on these longer, more difficult courses. And his best finish is tied for 13th. That was in 2016. But the other thing about Grillo is he does well on these type of courses, I think. You look at Corrales Punta Cana, he was tied for 6th. Puerto Rico Open, he was tied for 11th. Mayakoba, he was tied for 8th. I know that these fields are not as strong and right. These courses are different. Like, we're not talking about super long courses on this type of grass, but it's still just, there's a comfort level there. Clearly, he performs well at those. His ball striking is awesome. The last one I'll leave you with, so Grillo kind of has the Keegan Bradley reputation of being great tee to green and being a poor putter. Right. And so you look at his 2020 season stats. So that was 2019-2020 season. He was minus 0.9 with his putting, so almost losing a full stroke. So far this season, he's plus 0.02, so that's all you need. Yeah, that's all you need from Grillo. I like it. I think if he has any kind of decent putting green, which seems to happen for him more on ththese type of greens than it does on a pull or a bent or something else, then I think there's high upside potential to Grillo.
Yeah, I like Grillo. The pass balance, strokes gained tee to green, it all kind of makes sense with Grillo, and he's playing well. I think he's priced appropriately. I don't think his ownership will get crazy because there are, I think, a lot of plays around that area. So maybe in the teens kind of is what I'm expecting, which is perfectly fine for me to kind of slot him into a few lineups and then feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's that same, almost like basically the can't putt upside play.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, as Craig mentioned, our Wednesday show is on Tuesday. Live DFS show. We go through our entire PGA DFS model live. Come join us, ask questions, talk about some strategy. Do that Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss that. And of course, name your favorite sleeper, 7,500 below. Call your shot. Leave it in the comments. Let us know who your favorite play or favorite sleeper is on DraftKings under 7,500.
Yep. Appreciate it, guys. See you next time.
Take care.